back.
We are back. You're listening to Valley Black Talk Radio here on 88.1 FM, KFCF. Today is March 10th, 2014. Hey, 7 days before my birthday, Joquoya. What are you going to get me, huh? What are you going to get me?
I'm going to get you a cup of coffee.
Oh, cup of coffee.
Yeah, because she needs
Well, a person
coffee,
that works
right?
at a coffee shop does not need a cup of coffee.
Or who has that much energy.
You're listening to myself, Julia Dudley Najib, along with Joquoya Murphy and Jewell Riversmith. This is our wrap-up hour, and we have a lot to talk about. Now, hopefully you got to watch that part 2 on the Bounce TV, and also that segment will be on our Valley Black Talk Radio website probably by early tomorrow morning, and that way you'll be able to watch it online in case you do not have the channels for Bounce TV. Which are the local channels. And what's been airing, Jewell, are the comments, the public comments in support of Dr. Blue.
Okay.
What I liked about the public comments, I'm going to talk about the things I liked. I think that's always important. There were from students that came up, former students that came up to speak. There were teachers, also staffing, employees that had nothing but great things to say about the chancellor. You had one man that said, yeah, people didn't even realize that was a chancellor because I guess when she came to an event and she was just saying, oh, where can I help? They didn't realize they were talking to the chancellor because she was so humble.
Oh.
And that makes a difference.
And business leaders. There were business leaders there.
There were business leaders. And so, and I think, Joquoya, you have admin on your campus, and sometimes they're unreachable. You're probably always trying to reach them, and they're unreachable, right?
Nowhere to be found.
Nowhere to be found. And these are leaders of the university. So here you have the chancellor that's a leader of number of campuses who's everywhere.
Oh.
And it's sad to see her have to go, or that they let her go. And I have to explain to people why I even said that on the TV program. We interviewed with Tate Hill because Fresno Metro Black Chamber is the one that, from the inception, that gave a reception for her at the African American Museum, and it was like a double reception. And had a combination of different programs where she was a part of it, making sure her students were inclusive, making sure there was diversity all throughout. And so we had him kind of break that down. In fact, he was an avid speaker and a supporter of her, spoke on that Saturday, also spoke again at the Tuesday meeting, and then spoke again at the board meeting, which was imperative. So it was a lot of speaking because that's how much support she's given our community. And people wondering, well, why are people doing that? Why are they having to stand up? Because Dr. Blue is so modest, so even Steven, so cool, that someone's got to speak for her.
Yeah.
Someone has to. But then you have to think of the other side. People are looking for her to crack. When you're in a high-level position like that, not only are you African-American, not only are you a woman, they want you to crack. They want you to say, oh, look at her, she's crying. Look at her, she's upset. So that's one thing, and I learned that because when my mom was vice president of a whole region of Citibank, and I would never see her crack under pressure. And I would have to hear when I got home all the stuff that was done to her. I'm like, oh, my God, they said that? And, oh, my God, they talked about your skin color. I was so shocked. But she never cracked. And so I hope people realize that about Dr. Blue is that under pressure, she has to do that. She has to still be the chancellor. She's still there until they had it 2014, Jewell, and then they changed it to 2015. I don't know if that was pressure or what.
I'm sure it was pressure. I think really at some point they knew they were not going to get away with just completely shoving her out. And yet, hasn't she? She has just been nothing but graceful and appropriate all the way through.
She's a perfect role model of what I'm striving to be one day.
Yeah, and you know, I need to say to the community, this is my opinion, based on what I know. You have a small cabal of instructors who don't like some of the things that the chancellor has done, don't like some of the things that she has said, and they have a very powerful union.
Sure.
So what you end up with all due respect to AFT, we're a union family. My dad was a longshoreman. I'm a union person.
Okay.
But I think that when your union represents you, quote, right or wrong, without any consideration for, in my opinion, without any consideration for the whole of the situation, everybody loses. So now, to me, on campus, you have this suspicion because, you know, I don't know if she supported Dr. Blue or he supported Dr. Blue, you know.
So frankly, now you get people taking sides.
Yeah, you got people and I'm taking a side. And frankly, I'm suspect of a lot of instructors. I think the way things were handled was shoddy and unprofessional. And I think the students and the college as a whole, and in fact, the city of Fresno, because as I said before, it's a stain. The way everything was done is a stain on the campus. It's a stain on the city.
Well, what's the bigger stain for me, Jewel, is when Tate mentioned on the TV show, and I didn't realize it, at Reedley College, they had the first Latina president that was elected, the very first. But yet you have Reedley College that's predominantly, I'm just looking at.
That's in an area that's got to be at least 50%, right?
Right.
More than that.
Right. So
Latino and Hispanic, and yeah.
that's the first. So
Yeah.
that is the question that I have. You know, that's the part that I'm trying to understand.
Yeah.
Why is it so that's diversity, and that's what she's doing, and people are getting upset about that?
Well, I'll just tell you, there was every semester, well, in the fall semester, we have convocation. We have the opening of the school year, so to speak. And they have a program. And at the fall convocation, I was not there, but I understand that Dr. Blue made some remarks about diversity.
Yes,
saying
she did.
That it wasn't
I wanted to bring
enough.
that up. I'm glad you're
Yeah.
talking about this. The
And-
letter that went out or something. Okay.
Yeah, and challenging the campus to do better. We need more, and not just African Americans. Diversity doesn't
Yeah.
mean black. Diversity means more of all of us in instructional positions,
Sure.
in higher administrative positions. And there were a lot of people that didn't like it. And I'm going to tell you something. The people who are, the people who have issues with race, serious issues, the pointed hat people,
Right.
they know that they're racist,
Right.
and they don't mind telling you.
Yes. I'm
I
okay with
find-
that because at least they tell me.
At least they tell you. What I find more frustrating or more galling is that there are many people who call themselves liberal, call themselves progressive, and if you challenge their let's say racial sensitivity, if you tell one of them, I don't think we have much diversity here, we need more diversity, oh my gosh, I mean, you have really thrown down the gauntlet. You have called them something horrible. I think that's even more worrisome to me.
Right.
Anyway, she made some remarks that some people didn't like, and they went after her. Now, that's my opinion, based on what I know, and I know a lot. I'm on the campus, and I think that's really unfortunate.
And so I have to say this as an instructor, I was the only African American and only woman in an English department, and I was hit from all sides. I know what that feels like. It feels like a bunch of needles stabbing you all at one time, and they tried to force me off my first year there. And I remember at that time crying to one of the other professors. I was getting ready to retire. I'm like, I'm tired of this. I said, I can't, I'm not lasting. It's been 3 months, and these people would complain to the principal about me on little things that I was doing. And I was this brand new teacher, and then I realized, you can only take it as a skin tone problem, as a race issue. But these people didn't think they were racist.
No, of course
they thought
not.
they were doing their duty by let's go tell on that black teacher because she's not teaching the way we're used to.
Oh, I mean, not black teacher.
No, it's black
Julia,
teacher.
Julia.
No, they say black teacher.
Oh, did they?
They
Okay.
would, and I would find out about it. But luckily, my principal, who was very open-minded, and he had to sit me down and say, Julia, this is what you're up against. You are the only black teacher, English teacher at that. You're young, and you've got degrees behind your name, so you're already a threat. He had to tell me that.
Yeah.
That's what he had to tell me.
I think I even had an experience. I'm younger, but I had an experience just in high school with one of my teachers who was a history teacher. She was black,
I remember you telling me.
going through her master's degree. She was trying to help out with our camp on our school site, our BSU. So she was the advisor for that, and everywhere she went, it was just problems, issues, stress. She went home hating her job.
Yes, that
and
was me.
And it was just all she was trying to do was care for the black students that nobody else cared for.
Right.
And
that's what I went through. What she described is what I went through. And it was a lot. At that time, I had to take on the BSU. At that time, I was coaching, and all the black kids would come to my room, so then the teachers would complain. All the black students are in that black teacher's room. They never would call me by my name.
Yeah,
would
see,
tell-
I'm surprised
I didn't
about
like that. Oh.
Because usually they try to make it about anything. Publicly, they try to make it about anything but you being black.
Oh, they made it everything
You know,
about
the,
me
the
being
teacher
black.
down there.
No, they would say that black
they
teacher.
don't want to say.
They would say the black teacher.
the one with the dread.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that lady with the
Yeah.
locks. And so then they would talk about what I was wearing. I mean, it was really bad. So and
believe
that
it.
was on a micro level. Here I am at a high school where there's over 35,000 3,500 kids, maybe about 10% African American, and they all loved me, but I was hated by my staff. So I hated my job. I hated when I would come home. Sometimes I would cry because the pressure was so much. And I said, how am I going to get through this? And then I had to reflect on what my mom went through. I had to reflect on what other people went through. And then it was another teacher that talked to me, said, you've got to, that's what they're trying to do. They want you out. You have to stay to the course.
And you can't make it easy for them.
And you can't make it easy. You can't show them when you're flinching. I think at one time, only one time I just lost it, because when this teacher came in and just said, what are you teaching? Well, I don't understand poetry. Poetry has nothing to do with rap. And just came in yelling in the middle of my classroom. And I had to stand my ground. And that's when I said, okay, enough is enough. You don't know who I am. You guys assume. I remember getting yelled at in the office because I looked so young. Hey, you need to go out the back door. No student should ever be treated that way.
So
even if you thought I was a student. At that time, I was 24 when I'd started.
So you look like a student now.
So no one should be treated that way, and I think that's what I'm saying about the chancellor. Dr. Blue shouldn't be treated that way. I've heard about the way she's treated at the meetings, and she's demeaned. And why? That's your chancellor. Did you treat your previous chancellor that way? So I'm thinking to myself, I can only imagine what she's going through, and I can only imagine when you are literally a minority, around amongst your colleagues. They're already
double
looking.
minority.
Yeah, you're double minority. So you're female and you're black, and they're already looking for something for you to mess up on or to screw up on. And you're going to run into that one day, Joquoya. I'm sorry to say.
No, I know it's going to happen.
I'm sorry to
I already
say.
know the difficulties about being a black woman.
and so those are the things that we addressed even on the show, where Tate Hill discussed how now African American women in positions of power are being let go at will state for no reason. And so let's get to this call, and we'll talk more about this. Thank you, caller, for calling in to Valley Black Talk Radio.
Oh, well, thank you, ma'am, for having me on the air to air my issues that I'm so
I know who this is.
about. Excuse me?
I said, how are you doing this evening, caller?
Oh, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. So far, no bugs, so I've been pretty good.
I can solve that problem for you. But anyways, I really am upset, but I got a question.
Sure.
Oh, okay. By the way, for the folks who don't know, because you were trying to jab me, this is Cato. So that way people know who's about to say something that they don't like.
Right.
Where was the community involvement in this? Because, when you stand back and you look at Fresno in the African American community, there are so many high-profile people in positions that when somebody needs something done, they can call on them. But here we have a black chancellor who's being outed, and nobody can rally behind her. That's my problem.
Okay. So would you say that your problem is before the special meetings and all that, or are you saying we should have known this ahead of time? Is that what you're...
Well, twofold. Yeah,
okay.
We should have known about it before, but even during, if you start, let me say it my way. If I start naming off people who are so-called people in the know who have power, that as soon as you say their name, it gets done. We can't support our own.
Right.
I mean, what else do we have? Anytime somebody challenges something that we have, it just goes to the wayside because the community won't back it up. And I'm not talking about the community as in whole. I'm talking about the community of these high mucky-mucks who so-called have power and prestige.
I see.
Yet when something happens, you don't hear from them. Their name isn't called.
I see.
So what good are they?
Right.
They're not doing nothing for us.
I see. So how do you suggest we do that?
I know you can't say it or you won't say it, but I will because I'm just Cato.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
but that's crazy for our community. We'll never have nothing if we don't have support.
Well, I'll say this. I'm not sure who you're talking about, Cato, because, I don't know anybody but Julia. And Mel and you.
I said high profile, okay? So
Yeah. See, I don't know any high profile people, but there were some people there who have some influence in the community who spoke, and on the first Saturday that we went, and then on Tuesday. And I will say this. Again, partly speaking to process, the board kept everything so quiet. When the board, even the special meeting announcement comes out, it just says, state employee discipline, dismissal. It doesn't name names. None of that stuff. And of course, we all thought the chancellor is doing a fantastic job. So it didn't occur to any of us that it could be her. And then when someone said, this might be related to, then the call went out and a whole lot of people showed up, both on that Saturday meeting and at the Tuesday meeting. But I think the problem is, if we had even known in January when they had the first special meeting, I just think it was so under the radar. They were so quiet about it, and there was no information about who it pertained to, the special meeting, so people didn't know. But again, that's why we really have to be paying attention.
Well, let me ask this: when Julia said that there was I guess a dinner or something for the Black Chamber of Commerce that Tate had been involved in before and after. I think you said there were two.
Oh yeah, way before. So this is when she first came to the Valley.
But that shows the support for her, for whoever showed up. Did any of those people show up?
Okay, I see. You're talking about
I see what you're saying.
Those muckety mucks. Yeah,
right.
I don't.
No. No, they didn't.
I wouldn't know. Okay.
I can start naming people because Cato will do that.
Yeah.
Really, we don't have to because they know who they are.
Yeah, I see what you're
I
saying.
know some of them are listening, but I'm gonna say it's not the general person like say us little folks.
Right.
I'm talking about the folks that as soon as you call, or if somebody across town wanted something done or wanted involvement about somebody in West Fresno, they're going to get the call first.
I get what you're saying.
People weren't at those meetings.
You're right. You're right.
That's why I said the hot muckety mucks, because nobody heard from them.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, if their house burned down, they would be on TV. I mean, you'd hear it in the newspaper and everything else.
Right.
But when it comes down to helping your own to try to keep something that we can claim, here we don't get any support from those people who have the power to at least speak up.
I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying.
So Cato is through. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you, Cato.
I'll say some more on my show on the 4th Monday, but for now,
good. Okay.
We will be listening.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Cato. And in fact, Kindness Walsey did speak there, and he see, that's my problem, is the instability.
Yeah.
And you're looking at 4 years now. There's going to be another chancellor, and there's always that changeover.
Yeah.
I was talking to one of the instructors at Reedley, and they said there's a lot of instability in the district, and there's always interim this, or there's just a switchover.
Look, I don't think I'm telling anything that anybody can't find out in public records. That is also mentioned in our accrediting commission for community and junior colleges report, that there's a lot of high turnover. That was a concern for the ACCJC.
That should be a big concern.
And in our own master plan, it clearly states that we have a lack of diversity. In a report that some consultants the district hired just recently did about how to better use our real estate resources, they also, because in terms of talking with their communication with the community, they had community stakeholders and all come in, and again, that thing about lack of diversity popped up. This is not.
So this wasn't new information. She was tackling something that
she was
already
tackling an
pointed
existing
out.
problem that had been pointed out in a number of our own self studies, and
Incredible.
she got sacked, basically sacked for it again, because you got a small cabal of people who are powerful and who have a powerful union, and there you go. And all of us lose out.
All of us lose out.
So I'm like doing my catch up, and I'm trying to figure out, from what is being said, why is it that some people are trying to make it as though this isn't a racial issue?
That's the interesting part, right? It's
a
racial issue.
It's definitely a racial issue. And I'm trying to understand, why would they try to twist it as if it's not? That's never a problem.
Right.
It's a big problem.
Well, you know why they try to twist it as if it's not. Because they don't believe it's a race problem. They don't believe
But you
that
brought it
they
up
are,
when you talked about race relations.
Yeah.
Remember you said there's a difference between a racist and race relations. I just explained to you guys what happened to me as a brand new teacher. Those are race relations. So it doesn't mean that those people were necessarily racist.
Right.
But because they'd never been around a female black
That's what I'm saying.
teacher, the relations like, oh, well, who is she? Oh, my God, she's teaching rap in the classroom. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Shakespeare and poetry and rap, somehow doesn't make Tupac. Who's that? What?
Exactly.
So that is race relations. But yet I'm relating to those kids in the classroom, which are predominantly the kids that listen to the music in order in order for me to drag them into poetry. It was a different method for me to be able to teach them. But because of the lack of diversity, here we go again, lack of diversity, training and understanding, they couldn't relate to me as a teacher, and therefore I was less than. Therefore, it becomes a race issue.
Exactly. See,
I just broke it down.
You just encapsulated it.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily start off as racism. I say it's a lot of culture clash.
Culture clash,
Because we
big
are
way.
different, and we like to claim we're a melting pot and think we're all just alike, and we all love Frank Sinatra, and we all love I Love Lucy, and you know, to some extent
Rose-colored
that may be
glasses
true,
don't
but,
fit on my head.
But it's more complicated than that.
It is.
Just like the gentleman who called the other night, when we were speaking very calmly and pointing out who the members of the board were, and he called up and accused us of being angry women. We were not angry. It's that
thought that
kind
was
of
funny.
culture
Oh my
clash
God.
stuff.
Because I can get angry. And that wasn't even my angry side.
You know what? I would be scared for him to see angry.
I know.
Because, you know, I don't know what his angry looks like, but the point being, we have these culture clashes, and instead of realizing we're different, I relate differently, that person relates differently, and working together, the majority culture
Right.
becomes threatened. Many people, let's say, this is not everybody, but many become threatened when they are dealing with someone who's different
Right.
than they are.
But I'm taking offense, Jewel, to other folks taking offense, wondering why there's so many African Americans in the room, or
Why is that a problem?
That's my point.
Yeah.
So to me, I have a problem with that. I know people were concerned about that, but why not have support from African Americans in that room?
See, you know what? Dr. Joy DeGruy says, I just love her. She says, you know, she has friends who say, you know, I don't even notice color. I don't even notice that you're black. And, you know, you realize that they think they're saying something nice or good, but the fact is, you wouldn't be saying it if you didn't realize I was black. You don't say to other white people, a white person doesn't say to other white, I don't even realize that you're white. It's
Kind of
not
like
an
that
issue.
comment. I don't know what her name is. She had that book coming out, and she talked about 12 Years a Slave. Talked about Lupita Nyong'o in regards to saying,
love
and then she
her.
said, "Oh, I date black men all the time," and I didn't think it was a racist comment. I said, and I have black friends. It's like the wrong thing to say.
Nobody.
And they just don't get it. And they don't
Yeah, they
get
don't.
it because they don't spend enough time around us. And they don't spend enough time around us because when somebody comes to an institution and tries to bring more diversity, they get threatened.
Right. Right.
So-
and that's that's the essence of what happened. Her speaking out all of a sudden is, oh, who does she think she is?
Yeah.
And I'm not speaking for
And
Dr. Blue. I'm
chastising
saying
us.
that's how it's coming out, and that's how it's looking.
Yeah.
Whether they want to look that way or not. Now I know when I look back at some of the footage, and I can see that some of the board of trustees in a certain amount of distress on their faces, and people, you can't miss that.
Yeah, no, you can't.
And I understand that they can't
And
speak
thank
or say
goodness
anything.
you showed that.
Yeah.
Because were it not for Anne Marie Pro TV, you wouldn't even, you could look at the vote and go, okay. But to see on people's faces when they cannot speak,
Right.
free speech, yeah, right, that there was distress, that's important to be able to see. And you guys are the only one who captured it.
Yeah, we sure did. In fact, and let's talk about the board makeup, because I know I heard
Oh,
some comments where
gosh.
people were saying, well, there's only the two African Americans. What were they doing? How come they didn't support? This is what I'm hearing from our community. I'm thinking, okay, so the board of trustees does not just consist of two African American board of trustees. I want to make sure to point that out.
Yeah.
All right, let's
Make that very clear.
hear about the board.
Okay.
Go. Tell us about the board, Julia.
So when people are expecting two board trustees to be the heroes in this matter, when the vote clearly needs more than two votes, I think
Exactly.
that shows how we are ignorant, you know, and I want to make sure the community understands it's not two people that make up the vote. They've
Yeah.
got to go in there and battle and argue with the rest of the board members.
Exactly.
And we pointed out, AMPTV pointed out who the board members are, who the areas are, and the ones, and we discussed last week
Yes.
who's up for a vote. So it is
Yes.
up to the community now to step in, go ask your trustee representative, hey, why did this happen? Go ask for a
Exactly.
meeting. Now
And
it's
how
time to
did
do
you
that.
Vote? You don't
Let's
actually have
talk
to
about
ask
the
them.
vote.
You can find out how
Now
they
we
voted.
need to bring
That's
up the
not a
vote. That's
problem.
public information.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's be real. Who voted what? Okay. There were 4 yeses to amend her contract, 2 no's, and I'll have to say it happens to be the 2 African American Board of Trustees and 1 abstention.
Yeah.
Jewel, I know you don't like abstentions.
I do not like abstentions. You got to make difficult choices. I respect the no more than the abstention. I really do. No tells me exactly where you stand. Abstention, to me, it's to me. No slight to the. I'm sure it was a very. For the person, at least for Mr. Nishanaka, I'm sure it was a difficult decision.
But
He
this is a
seemed like
difficult
it was a
topic,
difficult
But
decision.
here's my thing. I can't give any excuses because
Exactly.
when you're in that position, you are supposed to be the representative of your constituents.
Exactly.
You have to make those tough decisions.
That's
so
what I say.
when you're
I don't want to
abstaining,
make
yes or
light
no?
of it. I don't want
Yes
to
or no?
say
Yes or no?
That's
you know
it.
that it wasn't difficult. I don't want to say that. I believe it was. But that's what you're there for. We wouldn't need you to make decisions if they were all so easy to make.
Sure, right.
We need you to make a decision when it's tough.
Right. And I'm sure, like, I'm sure even the media will probably get a lot of backlash and people saying we're biased. Yeah, we happen to be African American, and I know that's going to come up. So I'm just going to say this to that. My job as a media is to make sure I point out things that normally do not get pointed out in the mainstream. There's no
Yes.
way you would have heard Eric Payne, Board of Trustee. You wouldn't have heard his comment on mainstream, that whole entire
And
segment, which we put the whole
he's-
segment so that the public can make a judgment of what was said and why he said that.
And he so deserves to
Right.
be commended for the courage it took. These things are supposed to look smooth, and the
Supposed
board
to.
always agrees, and
Everybody's happy.
And for him to stand up and give that statement prior to stating his vote, that was very courageous.
Yeah.
It was very courageous.
And
he's
that's
a
what we
young
want
man.
Yeah, he's young. He's under 30, and that's what we need the community to see. Not the why didn't the 2 African Americans do anything? Well, are you been paying attention?
Yeah, and you know what? And I want to say, the race issue is certainly important.
It's important and prevalent in this
It's
situation.
very important. But to me, we even if you take race out of it, I want the community to understand that we forget what Dr. Blue's race is.
Well, wait, and clear this up. Dr. Blue has never said anything about race in all of this.
No,
That's
no,
the saddest part about it.
Except to say
She
we
hasn't
need to
said
be-
anything about it
Right.
and has
She
not
hasn't
even
made any
Thank you.
charges.
No
She
statement,
hasn't-
no
she's
charges.
been
So
nothing.
let's clear that up for the record.
Yeah.
She's a
But we are
strong
pointing
woman.
out that it's about race.
Yeah, exactly.
We have to point it out
Exactly.
because you have to.
She does not appear disgruntled. She
No.
does not appear. I tell you, it's amazing to me because
I know who I'd be talking about if I were her.
exactly. It would be very hard for me to be quiet.
Right.
But what the community should understand: white, black, Hmong, Mexican, Armenian, all of us. What we should understand is, if you remove race from it completely, the fact remains that you have a stellar person, well capable, above average, popular in the community, doing their job with greatness, inspirational to young people, deeply concerned about students, and they got rid of her.
And about her
if
staff,
race
and concerned about her staff, their
Exactly.
needs, just like they said in the comments. And after the break, let's talk more about
Yeah.
that. You are listening to Valley Black Talk Radio here on 88.1 FM KFCF. Yes, this is the free speech radio for Central California. Make sure you can call in. You are certainly can call in that last half hour if you'd like. 559-266-8888. 559-266-8888. We'll be right back.